Hello, everybody.
Hello everyone, sorry we're a bit late.
It's our usual stint. Hopefully, everyone can see us and hear us. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's just how we do. Just how we do.
yeah. There's not much to talk about, I think that's the problem. Just like,
Well,
oh well.
that is definitely a part of it. Yes,
I've been very busy with life things as well, life things.
life's
Real
boring
life.
as well.
Real life, not fantasy life. Why is hang on a minute, my laptop is not charging.
You might want to
Why
do
is
that.
that?
Who have we got in the chat tonight? We've got a Mr. Marlowe who's sitting there painting about a bajillion guardsmen whilst he listens. Timothy
Switched off.
Greaves, who has about 3 copies of one of the tournament kits to play around with. He's now got 3 trophies. He gained 3 trophies in one day. Laura's actually managed to make it for Tuesday night for a while. Hello, Laura. Welcome
Hey,
aboard.
hey Laura.
We've got John Grant miniatures in there as well. He's got some prep work to do for his work for school and stuff. We've got some weirdo called Robin Brooks in there, and then there's a Mr. Morph as well. Talk about better things like Blitz Bowl. He says, "How's the edit coming along, Morph?" Well, I just finished it this evening, so I shall be kicking that off tomorrow. I possibly could have done that before I came up, joined this, so that's a slight miss. But it will be there tomorrow night, hopefully, uploaded and ready for you to view.
That for patrons.
Cheers. And without giving any of it away, very close game. Very close game.
Great. It was great.
It was a
It's very
fantastic
cold in
game.
here. I'm in the studio. It was 6 degrees when I came in.
Oh,
It got up to about 8.
that is chilly.
Yeah. I was doing my Joe Wicks routine out here this morning, and it was 5 degrees. That was a bit parky.
I feel like if you're gonna do something out there at this time of year, you need to go out about an hour or so before and turn the heater on.
I do, but I'm mean and tight and either. So like, oh, I'll just be cold. Just as we finish, it should be a nice
It'll be
temperature.
warm enough, yeah. It is warmer than the shed morph. I suspect if he were in the garage, it would be.
Yeah, I don't know what it would be like in the studio. It is insulated, but obviously it's not heated, so it's not perfectly insulated. So, but it does stay warm. We had John here last week, and with the 3 of us, once we cranked it up to the heater on, we didn't need it back on, did we? Really,
It almost got too hot.
Yeah, it kept its warmth. It almost got too hot when John was in the studio.
There were 3 of us in there.
Yeah.
Less said about that, the better. The last Star Strider says hello. He's about to paint a full tower roster. Let us know how you got on by the end. Post it on Facebook.
For which game, though? I mean, would that be Kill Team?
I'm assuming it's a
roster. Are you joined us for Aeronautica's type stuff? Because that you could have a tower roster for Aeronautica, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but yeah, which one? Let us know and send us a picture at the end of how you managed to progress during the chat.
Yeah, VJ can hear the heater. Yeah, I keep meaning to bring in the infrared one or whatever it is.
Trouble is, it's big, isn't it? It's big and flat.
Yeah,
I'm not
big.
Sure where you put it on a.
No, exactly on the ceiling.
Yeah, just directly above you. Just
couldn't go wrong at all.
nothing would go wrong with that.
No.
So we have a general. We don't have an actual subject for this evening so much as just a general hobby chat.
Hobbying stuff. It's quite a bumper pre-order for Games Workshop this week. This weekend. Anybody get anything new that's coming out? I think there's dragons, aren't there, going to be on the list, and it is Dragon Week on the Warhammer Community website. And I'm going to be looking at the Barlin's Tomb game, I think.
Yeah, I'm keen to see what that's going to be like. Very keen to see what that's going to be like.
And it's quite a good price. And it's got the fellowship in it.
Which you can't go wrong with, to be honest.
No. VJ's going to his local GW this afternoon to get some Martian Earth texture paint.
I need to get which one? Which texture paint are you getting?
Martian Earth.
Oh, I've got that one. I'll chuck it to you now.
It's a long way to go.
The Martian Iron Crust or the Iron Earth. It's very different.
Tim says he's not, but then he says me too. So I'm intrigued to know what they were in reference to. You're not getting
He's not getting
Varnus 2, well, you are getting Varnus 2. Find out next week!
Dun, 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 dun. The Martian, Iron Earth and Iron Crust, I got both of them because I then used both on the basis of my Necrons. If you're ever going to be able to see that properly.
No.
So it's like some of it's it's not going to work, is it?
No. There's a bloody great Necron in the way.
It's just not going to work. I shall email you a couple of dots of it.
Yeah, just squeeze them into a USB port. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Last Socialist doesn't know he hasn't got any of the Lord of the Rings stuff yet since he grew up seeing them in theatres. They're his favourite movies. Well, I said their favourite movies. I can't believe how old they are now, the Lord of the Rings films, and they're still some of my most favourite fantasy genre films ever.
Yeah, definitely they are a cut above. Particularly like the first one, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim's not getting anything new, but he does like the new Lord of the Rings game, so look at it. Yeah, I just fancy giving it a go. I don't really want to fall down a Middle-earth strategy game trap hole, but I have the original metal. I think they were metal Lord of the Rings figures from 20 years ago. But don't worry, last Rider about dating yourself. I regularly talk about the original Lord of the Rings films that I had that were, I think, minted in 1984. Yeah. So they were the first Citadel miniatures I ever had.
We're old here, so
yeah. But no, I'm quite looking forward to getting the models from that set and painting them up. I don't know whether I'll have time to paint them up, but quite cool. I haven't rewatched them for a long time. It's quite controversial, but I don't actually like the Return of the King.
I mean, that's not my most favourite one, I'd say, so I'm not fazed about that.
I reckon I could watch The Fellowship over and over again.
I think the Return of the King's possibly where it just started to get a bit too long in the tooth.
The cartoon, you talking about? Sorry, the last time I was that's cartoon. Do you mean the cartoon film? Yeah, that was. I can't remember how I actually saw that with my parents on a very wet day on the Isle of Wight.
That is random.
At the cinema, yeah. My dad. I think actually I said with my parents. I think just my dad. Come on, we're going to this because he was a big Lord of the Rings fan, and I couldn't. I don't know how old I was. I don't know what year it came out. Probably Google it and find out, couldn't I? But yeah, the original one with the cartoon and then but real human orcs. Well, not human orcs, but human actors playing orcs.
Were they? Don't remember that.
Yeah.
Long time ago, though.
The Return of the King is better than the Two Towers. It might be. It might be. I think I just felt like the end of the Return of the King just goes on and on and on. And I feel like it shows the weakness of the books a little bit, which you don't get when you're reading the book, but in the weakness of the story. Whereas I think Tolkien's all about the world building and the description and all that stuff, and then it shows that actually the story is pretty poor. It's just like one endless slog, either on a battlefield or up a mountain.
Yeah. I mean, my unpopular opinion is that the films are better than the books. So.
Yeah, well, you're wrong there, but you're entitled to have that opinion. But I think you couldn't read anyway. So how do you know?
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. I'm hoping that I'm about to be clever and I'm going to do this button here. And now we're back in the screen proper like we should be.
Ooh, we swapped over though.
Yeah. That's so that when I'm looking at the screens over here and I can see what's going on, it looks like I'm looking at
you. You're looking at me. Fellowship is the best. Yes, Laura, we could definitely agree that Fellowship is the best.
Yeah.
I remember watching that at the cinema in that bit where they get into Moria and it all goes black. You could hear everybody in the cinema going. That was great.
I'll never forget at the end of that, and obviously spoilers if anyone hasn't seen the films, we're going to give away things.
I think anybody watching is likely to know the story.
I would hope so. I would severely hope so. But obviously, you know who dies at the end of that. And I just remember people in the cinema going, I can't believe he died. Well, one, it was Sean Bean. I mean, he was going to die, wasn't he? It was pretty much inevitable. Yeah, I do like the Lord of the Rings. I actually went to see, I think it was the third Lord of the Rings film. I think I went to see that with my mother-in-law.
Oh, really?
Because she kind of quite liked the Lord of the Rings films or whatever,
okay.
And my father-in-law did not, and my wife did not. So they went off and watched some other can't remember, there was something else at the time, like Bond or something like that. So they went to watch that, and I got to go to the cinema with the mother-in-law.
Did she keep asking you, who's that? Who's
No,
that?
she wasn't actually. I mean, I don't know if it was because I was just sitting there staring at the screen the whole time. But yeah,
I very randomly saw The Two Towers in Thailand on Christmas Day. It came out on Christmas Day in Thailand, and I was in Thailand, and I went and saw it on Christmas Day.
God, was it back then when you were travelling around?
2002. That would have been, yeah.
My God, because the first one came out about 2020, didn't it, or something like that? The Lord of the Rings films must have come out at a very similar time to the Harry Potter films, then.
I think so, yeah. Certainly the first one, yeah.
Which is just even more bizarre.
Andrew thinks The Fellowship is the best. It's the best book as well, to be fair.
It's certainly one I found most used for propping things up.
It has got some duff bits in it, but as a whole, it's the best one.
Tom Bombadil. I don't know what that guy was smoking,
1999,
but everyone
maybe
could have done with some of that.
I think The Fellowship is 20 years old this year, isn't it?
I thought it was something like that.
Yes, I think they were 2001, 2002, 2003, because I'm pretty sure. Well, it was definitely Christmas 2002. I was definitely in Thailand, and they came out a year apart, didn't they? So I think it was 2000.
Fellowship was 2001. Google says.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 20 years. And I think when was what was the first Harry Potter film called?
I think that's 20 years old. And Nirvana's Nevermind is 30 years old.
Philosopher's Stone came out in 2001 as well. I can't believe those two films came out at the same time. Although the Harry Potter ones, they decided to milk them for another decade afterwards, whereas the Lord of the Rings.
Well, I just probably watch films in really obscure places. I'm not sure the Isle of Wight's obscure, but yeah, I was travelling. I had my year out. I was travelling, and the Two Towers came out on Christmas Day. I thought, well, that is a present enough. So off I went.
I mean, it's still pretty random as far as places go.
Yeah. What's really random is that they play the national anthem, or they used to play the national anthem at the start of films in Thailand.
Brilliant.
That is, yeah. Not the British national anthem.
That would be really random.
Yeah, and the picture of the king. They really did take their royalty very seriously out there. So.
I can never remember what was the one of the adverts in cinema that used to go da 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 da.
Indeed.
That was it.
Yeah, that's not the Thai national anthem.
No, I know. I know that much. I don't know much, but I know that much.
Two Towers will always be a memory for the last Star Trek because Mum took her sister and I to the release on a Wednesday school night and stayed home the next day.
School night.
But that was probably okay because it was like nearly Christmas, wasn't it? Because they came out at Christmas.
Yeah.
So maybe, yeah, it was like, oh, we were only going to watch a film tomorrow anyway. That's cool. So you might as well just.
It's like these days, like you can stay for 6 weeks and no one's going to bat an eyelid.
Yeah. Well.
So yeah, we don't have a huge amount.
That was a good digression, just from one game.
Well, I mean, it's not like we've got a subject for tonight, so it's not like we've got to stay on topic.
The Barlin's Tomb bit of the Fellowship, I remember just being absolutely, even though we have a cave troll bit, just being immensely good.
That, I mean, I don't know why he suddenly turned so camp when he said they have a cave troll. It was just suddenly like
Kenneth Williams channeling his inner Kenneth Williams.
They've got a cave troll.
Brilliant. I want to see Kenneth Williams doing the whole of Boromir now.
Oh, I saw a meme.
Carry on up the ring or something. Oh, I'm going to put it in the cracks of doom.
That would certainly fulfil their double entendre title. That sure. Babs would obviously be I don't know, Frodo or Sam.
Misty Mountains.
It writes itself. It just writes itself.
Actually, Misty Mountains could be one of the characters.
That'd be Babs's character, surely.
Yeah.
You'd have
brilliant.
You'd have what's his name? Oh, what was his name? The one with the filthy laugh.
Unsolved Peter all his childhood.
Sid James would be would be one of the ring wraiths chasing after the Misty Mountains throughout. God. Oh dear, yeah. It writes itself. I mean, it's classic.
We can have Bernard Breslau and Charles Hawtrey as Merry and Pippin. One of them up here and the other one.
That'd be absolutely brilliant. Oh, I wish they'd done something like that now. Oh, that would have been fantastic. God.
You're a hobbit.
Yeah, man. Oh, I just can't. I can't even imagine watching a Carry On film these days for the most part. They just wouldn't.
I don't think you could make them in 2021.
The last one I remember watching, I can't remember when the last one was that came out, but it had people like Judy and Clary and stuff in it, and it was just.
Oh, Carry On Columbus. I saw that on the Tierra del Fuego. No, I didn't. I saw that in Leicester, where I lived at the time, and it was the only film I've ever considered leaving. At half time or whatever in the middle. I didn't, because I thought I paid my money. I'm going to sit through it.
Just
the only line I remember being funny was Maureen Lipman delivering "My Husband the Count." She delivered it in a very amusing way.
Yes. There's a bit I remember with Julie and Clary where somebody they had some Indians at one point, and one of the obviously big books, like mostly naked, muscly Indians, says to Julie and Clary, "She Pocahontas," and he says something like, "Well, I never. What's a hontis?" Just one of those moments you're like, oh god. Looking back now, you just couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Now.
No. I'm even a little bit uncomfortable that you just did that. if I'm honest. Anyway, that's probably not what people tuned in for. All 12 of you. I'm very sorry about that.
But like I say, we have no subject for tonight, so if anybody wants to put anything in the chat, wants to ask any questions or give a shout out or anything
do shout out any other random things we can talk about.
It's what's going to drive us this evening, pretty much. I
had, funny enough, a conversation today with somebody from Games Workshop. Which is the first time I've had one. They've got a new community. They've got a new community manager. Yeah, I don't know. He didn't say I couldn't tell anybody. Obviously can't divulge the contents of the conversation, although it wasn't that interesting. And although I've just realised I've left this up here, which I'm probably not supposed to do, so I'm going to move that away.
Don't see anything.
Yeah.
Incidentally, we played.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. So we talked about the way forward for Agents of Sigmar, which
They're
is
suing us. Hooray!
Cool. That was very, very exciting. Yeah, we're out. There is no way forward. But yeah, so it was quite nice. So they are keen to work with us. So that was nice. And new stuff will be coming our way as and when. And we are now on the Underworlds list, which we may or may not have been prior to that.
I mean, I don't know what list we were on before. It feels like it was just a list that had a question mark.
We ended up on the Age of Sigmar list, which is I've been getting a few odd parcels in the last couple of weeks.
You know why that is though? Because you did that article for them, didn't you?
Years ago, yeah.
And how it's sort of good for starters and kids and stuff like that, and that's probably how you ended up on there. And that
it probably is how I ended up on it. But then they didn't send much out, apart from the odd. They obviously sent out say not much, but they clearly send more out, or they have started sending more out because I was getting all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, which I can't mention, but.
Yeah, but we don't play, so it was a bit tricky. But anyway, that's all been cleared up now, so I'm not going to be getting any boxes I can't use anymore, which is good.
Also a shame because it cuts down on our secondary income stream. No, I joke. We didn't sell any of it. So I mean, we played as we said at the beginning, we've been playing quite a bit of different stuff recently. We played Blitz Bowl recently because Mr. Morph did pay us quite a while ago. So apologies for the amount of time it's taken us, but he did pay for us to play a game that, and we did. And frankly, I think it was one of the most fun games of it we've played so far. We also have. We
had a really fun night last week. Well, not last week. It was 2 weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, last week was shit.
We played a session of Bladeborn,
and
a session of Blitz Bowl, and considering they're kind of two small box games that you can't get through GW Direct, they're awesome.
They were both really good fun. Both very much beer and pretzels type games, very low cerebral requirement.
Low IQ, suitable for people with low IQ.
Yeah, and very low initial prep, which I liked a lot.
Yep. Yeah.
And obviously we had Mr. John in last week, and we played a couple of games of the brains Aeronautica Imperialis, which was also good fun.
Which is becoming our new favourite game.
Yeah.
Basically, because it's got planes and you can go meow.
Little tiny planes.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. And I always say this, but do check out johngrantminiatures.com. I think it is John without an H, because he's got loads and loads of content. He's almost turning into an Aeronautica channel himself, but today he's put up a load of stuff for the movers. The only complicated bit of the game, as far as I can tell, is the manoeuvres, and the actual rule isn't complicated, but they have different. They can like move 3 hexes, then turn, then move another 2 hexes, and it can get a bit complicated what you're meant to do. But he's done these kind of handy guides. There's only 8 manoeuvres. Most of the players can't do all 8 anyway, but it just simplifies it even further. So,
a lot of the moves are pretty easy. It's just there's about 2 or 3 I think that are quite head traumatizing to try and work out.
Yeah.
And even then, I'd say that the manoeuvres themselves probably aren't too tricky, but the trickiest bit is once you realise you've given them that order or that manoeuvre, is then working out how you can maximise that to get into the right position.
Yeah, because you can alter the speed, and that determines how far you move doing the manoeuvre that you're doing, and then that goes up. For me, adds up too many combinations and possibilities of places to end up.
Yeah.
Because you can do like if you're doing a manoeuvre with 2 turns, you can do those turns not quite, but almost at any point, and then it's just trying to work out how many hexes you should move between the turns. Then completely changes where you end up. Is it like X-Wing? It's similar to X-Wing. I think. I haven't played a lot of X-Wing. I prefer it to X-Wing to a point. X-Wing is great, and I like the little manoeuvre templates and things. But the problem with X-Wing is, as soon as you knock your model over, then you're basically stuffed. You've effectively cheated because you can never get it quite back right where it should be.
Because they really matter, don't they? The model sort of viewing.
The fancy. Whereas this is on hexes, so okay, obviously you could twist it completely around 72 degrees or whatever it is the wrong way, but you're far less likely to get it completely wrong, and so then it makes it easier. But essentially it is like X-Wing. I'm sure people who play both will say no, it's completely different, but as from a layman's point of view, it is essentially the same game.
Yeah, I've not played X-Wing, but I definitely like Aeronautica because it's just the setup of the game is just very easy.
It's just things like range, because you've got range rulers in X-Wing, but this is just you just count hexes. I mean, the range rulers are fine because they're just literally like I feel like
Marvel Crisis Protocol.
Yeah, that kind of thing. They literally just stick the ruler down, and if it hits, if you cover it, then it hits. But so they're not like, it's not like measuring inches all the time. But because you just count hexes in Aeronautica. It's pretty simple, although when over longer ranges it can get a bit complex, I think, and trying to remember each time what the different short, medium, but that's for learning thing, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas a stick that's the right length is easier to visualise.
That's true. I guess you could theoretically, for the most part, you could have range rulers for Aeronautica, but it would be a bit.
Yes, so I guess so. Are there times when something might be on a hex that was 10 hexes away, but actually you couldn't reach?
No, I just meant from the point of view if you didn't want to have to try and count the hex, because 10 hexes is actually quite far, and you can almost miscount it a little bit. But to be honest, if you can count to 10, then the game's pretty simple. So I struggled with it quite a lot. But
wasn't it that the original game wasn't hex based?
The original one wasn't, correct. Yeah, the original.
You're not allowed to mow the hexes because they're too confusing. Because you are the king of the hex. You are the hex god.
I do like hexes. Hexes are my new favourite thing. If I could, I'd have sex with a hex. But yeah, I do.
Nobody wants to see that on the channel.
I do definitely like hex-based games. But we had this conversation about Blitzbox. I was saying, I think I'd prefer it if it was on hexes. Not prefer it, but I think I'd like it even more. But then once we got down to actually, when you're on a square and you can move diagonally, you have 8 directions of movement rather than
either way, still going to try. I would definitely give it a try. Last Star Strider, it's really fun. It's quick, and it's fun. And the planes are lovely. I mean, they're not X-Wings and TIE fighters, so they're not quite that exciting. But the planes are cool. And it does help that we play with John Grant so far. His planes are painted beautifully, so that helps because ours will be like when we play with our planes. Like, well, this is a bit crap.
Yeah.
I'm sure the models were nicer than this last time we played.
The other good thing about it is that you buy a starter set and you actually have a decent sized force in the box. You know, once you get that and you paint up, you actually have a really good sized air force there. And obviously you can buy more stuff, but it's possibly one of the cheapest games GW do because they haven't, you know, it's been going like 3 years or whatever it is. They've only brought out 4 boxes in total. So
John says, do it.
An idea.
He's a great advocate for the game, is John. You invite him around your house and let him play because
he'll bring all the toys.
Yeah, he'll say he'll turn you on, which isn't really what I wanted, really what I meant. He'll extol the virtues of the game and get you interested.
Definitely worth it. I mean,
think anybody who's that enthusiastic about something, it's hard not to hard to resist playing as well.
Lure. Well, I mean, before he brought it around, you really weren't interested in it, were you? And he came over and John and I played a game. By the end of it, you were like, I like the look of that.
He obliterated most of my preconceptions, which were wrong. So I think I certainly had the feeling that you couldn't play with just one set, and that you needed loads of other stuff, and that actually turned out not to be true at all.
I think I was a little turned off by the fact that if you bought one of the starter sets, you didn't get a full-sized board. But it turns out that if you did buy a full-size board, it wasn't that much bigger, and it didn't make that much of a difference. And the other thing I wasn't 100% sure on initially was the fact that I thought that when you bought a starter box, if you wanted to get the rules for all the other airplanes, you had to buy a different book, which is kind of true, but at the same time, you get like all of the rules. So it's like, okay, that's not a bad buy again.
I think John was saying that if you buy the planes, like he bought a Thunderhawk, it came with the Thunderhawk stats in the box.
Really like that.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
So that game, it can take a while to play if you've got a larger force. I think I can't remember the size of the game that John and I played. It was about 125 points or something like that. And I think I had about 7 planes or something. That game, and he had about 5. That game did take a while to play. I think a lot of that was just sitting there going, crap, how do I move this model? How do I...
when you've got all those manoeuvres to make, that's quite a lot of thinking.
Yeah.
But I guess that would speed up once you've played a few times, because you'd kind of know. Firstly, you'd probably know what your best manoeuvre was in this situation.
Yeah.
And then secondly, you'd be able to quickly work out what it's, once having done that, how easy it was to move it, I would think. It was a good game.
And I think
we did play it very late because you played second.
Yes.
So the later you play, the longer things take.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the first turn of that game actually took very little time because we all just sort of shot across the board or whatever, and because we weren't in range, there wasn't very much shooting going on. It wasn't until the second turn that things started to... I think it's one of those games where it's a classic quick first turn, second and third, possibly fourth, start to take a while as you start flying around and shooting each other, and then by the fifth or so, there aren't very many planes left, so it speeds up again.
Yeah, and it's interesting, you don't... For my game, I realised belatedly that you don't necessarily want to engage straight away. You kind of want to... I kind of like, wow, these players go really fast, and I've got to zoom them in, and that turned out to be a bad thing to do. So there's definitely some tactics in there that I don't understand yet.
Depends on the force, I think, because you played Space Marines, didn't you?
I played Imperial Navy.
Yeah. And they're better at long range, whereas if you're the Orcs, you just want to...
Yeah, but I hadn't realised that until I was...
You want to get in there though, you
close
don't.
And personal.
You're like, it's a dogfight. You just want to be in there.
Exactly. You want to be. It feels like you want to be right behind them and shooting them.
Of course,
but you actually don't. You want to be some way behind them.
Well, until you can get right behind them, and then you get 3 extra shots off because you're tailing them, which is a great thing. So.
Some way behind them is even better, isn't it? If you can tail them, because you get medium range.
Yes.
Again,
Depends on which ship you are. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're Marines, you don't need to be.
But that's all learning the game is all part and parcel of the fun, isn't it?
And another thing that I like about it is the fact that there's not endless amounts of army list design. You can just take 6 planes without any upgrades or bonuses, and they'll do fine against someone with a similar sort of list. And
Yeah.
the rules that you do get when you buy upgrades aren't game breakingly changing. It's just like you get an extra gun or the ability to maybe ignore hits on us.
I haven't looked at how many combinations there are yet. That may make me one. Well, I don't know. I literally have no idea how many options there are.
Upgrade options.
Yeah, upgrades, because I know you can change missiles and you can change pilots and have equipment and stuff. So
Yeah.
How complicated that makes it. But yeah, it's not too bad. What I also like, and we did discuss this before, but because the scale's so small, although you could play WYSIWYG, you don't have to, because you can just say, well, these missiles are whatever missiles, photon torpedoes, and you can't really tell the difference between a photon torpedo and a proton whatever cannon.
Yeah, as John said, that there aren't that many options over on planes. Over upgrades are usually better, and I think that's
Yeah, he was saying that. Yeah, he was saying that. I'll have to trust him.
The other thing that I like about it, not only is it hexes and teeny tiny planes, but also it's got a WeGo system again, and I definitely prefer WeGo systems these days.
Yeah, you have mentioned that before.
Things like 40k and AOS are kind of a bit dead to me now, because it's just dull watching your opponents sit there and do everything.
Yeah, well, I think as we discussed last week, somebody was tabled like in turn 1 or something.
Yeah, SoCal tournament final 40k.
It's not good, is it? That's not good.
It's not a sign of a good game.
You can't do that in Aeronautica, or Underworld for that matter.
No. Or most other things.
More players keeps the initiative in your favour. The bug out level higher.
Yeah,
no, I see
true.
what you mean. That's true. Yeah, bugging out is where you basically route off the board.
Once you're reduced to a quarter of your force,
you have to rush. You have to fly off.
So yeah, I think Aeronautica is definitely going to feature more. Obviously, we're going to still keep trying to play some Underworlds, because that was kind of our thing. But comically, Underworlds has gone right back round to zero, in that it was just the release schedule was getting ridiculous, and we just couldn't keep up with it. And now there's nothing coming out, so we're like, well, there's not really that much interest in us here. I
think the problem for me, I do want to keep playing it. I think the problem for me was that I got a bit broken by Chasm and lockdown and everything, and I need almost my own reboot. When Harrow Deep there's more Harrow Deep, then we'll play it some more. That's what I feel like at the moment.
Could be.
That's what I feel like. But I'm interested in playing other games as well. So we should be getting a copy of Dead Zone 3.
Cool.
Next week.
And
so
we've got
that'll be
Thingy this week, haven't we?
Thingy, yes. We got Overdrive.
Overdrive. So
yeah.
there's just lots of different stuff, basically.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to play. Having had particularly VJ, but lots of people have said how good Dead Zone is good. Yeah. Then I'm particularly intrigued to try it. Pete's a stinky cheat at Rivals, apparently. That's what I've heard.
I won fair and square.
Did you? Oh, okay. Did you win today or?
No, it was last week.
Okay.
Laura has pointed out AOS 3 has more interactions in your opponent's turn. That kind of worries me, in that it's your opponent's turn, but then you interact and you interrupt and do things. And I'm just like, can't they just make it a WeGo system? I'll do something.
I have to say, Laura there says she'd never persuade us to play AOS. I mean, I think you probably won't. That is correct, because we just don't have the time.
That's the biggest
I
factor.
absolutely love in our Patreon Discord. There is an AOS channel, and there's a few people, Maliki and Laura in particular, who play it. I don't know, at clubs or whatever, and it's really interesting to see A, how much fun they have playing it, and B, their armies and how great they look on the table, and the interactions and the games they have playing it. It does look really good. I don't think I've got the brain power for it, to be honest.
AOS is definitely one of those games, a bit like, I don't know how much 40k is the same, but AOS definitely feels like some of those things where you have to big up your leaders, boosting your units and stuff like that, and once you have to start remembering bonuses on models and stuff, my brain turns to porridge.
We're dead. We've had it. Yeah, I don't like that way. I mean, it's like Kill Team, but in bigger, isn't it? I don't really like that way of building games. But like I say, I love looking at it. And if Games Workshop released some sort of new army that was just hit the sweet spot for me, I can see that I would fall in love with it. And well, the army at least, if not the game.
Yeah.
The problem for Pete and I is, unless we had a regular selection of guests, we could never play AOS. Because it'd be like, this week we're playing the Undead and I'm playing Empire or whatever. Again, yeah. So that would be the problem.
Yeah.
With that, if we had regular guests, then it might work. But
well, there we go, Laura and Maliki.
Laura must be a bit far from Maliki to come.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. It requires a bigger upfront investment, I feel, with those games as well, 40k and AOS. And for me, whilst a fully painted army usually does look absolutely fantastic, I haven't got the staying power to get to that point. Whereas AOS, Kill Team or Underworlds or Blitz Bowl or those kind of things, I've only got to paint about maybe up to a dozen models. I can just about live with that.
Yeah, like Strasser says, he'd like skirmish games. Even 500 points is too much to me. That's kind of where we're at. We want to play skirmish games, and then I could see myself almost playing what I can't remember what the Path to Glory, where you start with a tiny warband almost. I could almost see myself playing that. That'd be quite cool.
The problem with that is, I don't think people would want to watch us play for multiple months with 500 points with the same stuff, and then multiple months with 550 points. It's always
this conversation always leads us back around to Warcry.
Yeah.
Somehow that didn't do it for me either. So maybe I'm just too fussy, which I think I've said before.
Oh yeah, we're definitely fussy, grumpy old gits as well. That's definitely.
John Sowerby says he's painting up his kill team and also some Orcs and Imperial Navy for Aeronautica. I can't remember, John, if you joined the channel because we did Aeronautica or you picked up Aeronautica because we did it on the channel. But yeah, we're good to see other people doing Aeronautica stuff.
I'm trying to work out what to paint next because I just finished the Necrons off for our Kill Team game, which we're going to do at some point soon.
Planes.
Yeah, probably the planes. Although I'm kind of very tempted to dig out because we were talking about the Magotkin the other week, and I realised I've still got the Blight King models, which frankly they're still some of my most favourite models.
They are cool models.
And I'm just tempted to dig out some of those and try and paint them again.
Bruce is in. Hello, Bruce.
G'day, Bruce.
Well, I'm trying to finish off some Overdrive models for Thursday. They're going to be they're all going to be part painted. None of them are going to be finished. They're all going to be part painted. And then I don't actually know. I think I've got to do planes. Then I'm also painting for my brother-in-law. He said, "What?" I said, "What do you want for Christmas?" He said, "I want you to paint this." And he gave me a Forge World.
He gave you a Warlord Titan.
Well, not quite. He gave me a Forge World. I forgot what it's called. The first Emperor's Champion.
Ooh.
So, yeah, I'm painting that. It's a bit of an education, really. But yeah, I'm flattered that he asked me. But he must be desperate. That's what I'm going to say.
What does that look like? The Emperor's Champion model.
He's called Sigmarsson or something like that.
Sigismund, first champion of the something or others.
Yeah, that's the one.
Oh, for Christ's sake, I just want to look at a picture of Games Workshop, and now I've got to pick all of the boats in this bloody grid.
John says definitely that. I saw us playing AI and like the look. There we go. Yeah, so we I don't know if you were in at that point, John. We recorded 2 more games this Friday with John. He came in and I played my first ever game, which was just a standard dogfight, and then Pete played a scenario game with him, and they were great. So they'll be up on the channel in a couple of weeks' time.
So is this the model that your brother-in-law got you? The guy on a rocky?
Yes, that's the one.
I like it, although I don't like the fact that all of the models seem to always be on a massive pile of scrap metal.
Yeah, I mean, I've painted the base. I've painted the pile of scrap metal now. But he doesn't want the model in those colours. He wants them in the standard Black Templar, I think, isn't he? Colours.
So this guy's an Imperial. It is an Imperial.
Yeah, I believe I'm not very good on the law. I believe the Black Templars are a successor chapter from the Imperial.
Oh, they might be.
After that, and so he wants them in. He wants them in the Imperial in the Black Templar colours.
Although it's got a fist on the
I know. Well, maybe he hasn't put that on. I can't remember because I haven't seen that yet. I haven't started the person, but I haven't seen that, so maybe there was an option. So
either way, still a cool model.
Yeah. But the base was fun. I'm not so sure about painting the man.
It's just, I mean, so many of the Forge World models, the Marines do look absolutely fantastic.
Definitely, I do. I might. This has encouraged me. I've always thought, I won't get one of those because they're quite expensive and I'll screw it up. But this, I thought screw up somebody else's. I thought this has given me encouragement to maybe buy one.
But John, so he says he needs to get that lot out of the way, which is the other stuff he's already mentioned, Kill Team Orcs and Imperial Navy or Nautica stuff. He needs to get out of the way because he has a Bacchus 6mm Pony Wars box set on order.
You see, this is what I love about this hobby. You can think that you know lots about it, and then somebody can write a sentence like that, and you could just think, I have absolutely no idea what any of that means. Well, I know who Bacchus was, but apart from that...
I have no idea what that means, but I'm already interested.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh...
Just going to quickly Google that whilst we're here.
Yeah, so I'm intrigued by that. I don't know what that is. I'll look that up after the chat.
I keep seeing every time. I don't know if people can see it on the stream actually, but I can see it in the camera. I can see Curse City in the background. And it always makes me sort of think, oh, that was such a missed opportunity.
All right, where is that?
Just above your Mighty Empires box.
Yeah.
It's
off the circle, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's off the circle. It's here, everybody. It's kind of like it's an actualisation of Curse City, in the sense that you know it exists, but you can't find it.
Yeah, definitely a little bit like that. Space Hulk's another one, actually, thinking we haven't played that we should play. Because that's not got very many models in it.
Space Hulk, no. Although I don't think they're in there. The models, because that's one of the ones my son's got hold of.
Ah, yes.
I could probably track them down. 7th Cavalry versus the Indians, post-American Civil War. Interesting. John Selby says, Andrew says he's done the silver of 49 guardsmen. He never wants to see a lasgun barrel, clip trigger, guard grenade, clips and water bottle tops over again. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. And the last Star Strider is going to do Black Templars Kill Team next, so that'd be pretty cool. I do like the Black Templars. I do like some of the new models. But they're just, I would never use them, so I wouldn't buy them. But the new models are cool.
This is the thing. I think having this channel, has completely really stopped a lot of my general hobbying, like painting and modelling and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's probably saved me from buying an absolute crap ton of stuff that I'll just never actually put together or use.
I didn't know you were a model.
Well, in my spare time.
Beard model.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, do you recognise me now?
Oh yes, you were in that film. Weren't you Brian Blessed stunt double?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Singed off all of the left side once. But the number of models, the amount of money I would have spent on plastic and never touched it had I not done this channel would be far greater, I feel.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true.
The only thing I've got currently that
I've... Marvel Classes Protocol, pile of shame.
Yes, yeah. Feel like that. I would definitely then go, I love that, I'm buying it all. And then it would just sit in boxes.
Speaking of which, has anybody seen the announcement from Sigmar Games, Call Me or Not Games? They're doing Marvel Zombicide.
Ooh.
Based on the Marvel Zombie comics, I think, rather than the What If episode at the minute. But there was a small comic run apparently back in there, and they're doing a game. I haven't played Zombicide, so I have no idea what it's like. But it's like I could never. The Call Me or Not Kickstarters fill me with dread because they're normally like $300. But it could be cool. Jason says yawn. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't. You might have more experience of Zombicide than me, Jason, because I know you play sort of quite a lot of different games. I've never played it. I have to say, as a general rule, I don't like zombie stuff. I find it a bit boring. But I don't know. The Marvel zombies are quite cool. Just Marvel. There's something about the Marvel aesthetic that I like.
I love the Marvel zombie stuff. I love zombies in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you say, it's going to cost an absolute fortune, isn't it?
It cost 300 million. Yes, exactly, John. I did mean to put that. I think people would sort of imply that I didn't mean to put that. I did mean to put 300 million in the Discord chat because that's how much they cost.
I mean, the zombie Galactus model thing that they've sort of shown off does look amazeballs. Does look.
It does. But also, it's so massive. You just think, oh god.
Yeah, it's 2 foot tall, 2 foot tall. For anyone else has seen it, here's the model.
I haven't seen it. I didn't see the dimensions. So I'm just going to blow my nose. 2 foot.
2 feet tall.
You see, I don't want to pay for that.
I don't know how much that's going to cost.
No, I'll just get a cardboard standee.
It's 17-inch base, 2 feet tall model. Just stupid.
Yeah, see, already I don't want to pay money for that.
Yeah, that's just a bit crazy.
Jason hates Marvel zombies. Ah, well, always on an outlier, aren't you, Jason? I don't know. I really enjoyed the What If episode with them. I'd never seen them before. I hadn't realised it was a comic book run. Well, I've never read it, obviously, but yeah. I don't know. I just like the models.
What is it you hate about it, Jason? Or is it you don't like zombie stuff, and then therefore you don't like that, or is it something else? Or you hate Marvel?
Or is it the mash up? Sometimes you can mash things up too much, I think.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for me personally, I'm always up for any zombie stuff. I'm always interested in that.
So I know you're more zombie-ish than I am.
Yeah, I love The Walking Dead. So, well, I did.
I've never watched it.
It was definitely one of those things where I preferred the earlier seasons to the later ones, because later on it stopped being about zombies and it just became about one bad guy beating up other the good guys, and it just got a bit dull.
Marvel Zombies is a very bleak comic series. Well, I guess Marvel zombies normally are. There was a I don't know if it was a Black Mirror, but the guy who writes Black Mirror, whose name escapes me at the moment, he did a zombie kind of apocalypse type.
Charlie Brooker.
Before he did Charlie Brooker, yeah, and that was great and very bleak and dark.
What did he do? Sorry.
Yeah, he did. I can't remember what it was called. He did a zombie.
Dead Set.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah, that was really, really good.
It was like a zombie Big Brother thing, wasn't it?
So they broke into the Big Brother house. Yeah.
Well, it all kicks off. The whole zombie thing kicks off whilst the Big Brother's going on, and they don't know about it to start with.
Yeah.
Loved that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I enjoyed that.
Mr. Marley says he stopped watching The Walking Dead after the governor died. That was, I mean, yeah, because after he died, I stopped watching it when Negan turned up originally, because it was like one bad guy dies and suddenly another bigger bad guy comes along. Like, oh, okay, this is dull now. And you know they're going to beat him in the end. You know some of the main characters you love are going to die, but they're going to win. It's just, ugh, really?
Bruce wants to see a fluffy, happy zombie show.
Shaun of the Dead. Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
There's no way that's not the
most.
most.
That fluffy. But
that's just. Shaun of the Dead's a bromance. How can that not be a bromance? He ends up at the end playing on the computer again with his mate. Yeah, he's a zombie, but
I feel like there is a series where there is a zombie and they're trying to kind of
Netflix has done a few, I'm sure.
But trying to exist as a zombie and not be noticed.
There's a few like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Bruce says that Shaun of the Dead's pretty nasty at the end, but he ends up playing with his mate in the shed. How? I mean, if that's not heartwarming, what is? And the annoying wanker with the glasses gets
all around. Yeah. I enjoyed that.
To be honest, it does have a few horrible bits in where people get ripped to pieces, and there's the.
I've seen it. Mind you, the Disney What If zombie thing was a little bit. We were watching that with the kids. It's like,
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah, but it was, it is pretty good, but it's pretty brutal.
The bit I liked about the Shaun of the Dead is right at the end. It shows then there's Jeremy Kyle TV shows of he might be a zombie, but he's my baby's father, and all these kind of things. You're like, that's what would happen in real life if zombies had. Yeah, that would be it.
Jason doesn't like the bleakness of the whole storyline. He likes superheroes to be inspiring. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, don't ever read the Road.
There's no superheroes in that, but yeah.
No, but I mean, if
Not,
you want to
let's not
avoid
get me started on the Road.
if you want to avoid bleak stuff, don't watch the film or read the book.
Talking of bleak stuff, I feel like we ought to give a little mention to the post that GW put out on their community website
Yep.
this week. And just...
I hope that this is going to be an echo chamber of everybody saying, yes, that was a good thing. And it was.
Well, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. But I think the fact that in 2021, Games will have to say, please don't wear... I didn't quite say this, so please don't wear Nazi insignias to our tournaments. Is it doesn't? I mean, I do, but it beggars belief. But the world is a strange place, and people are strange. But
Yeah.
I thought it was a very good message that Games Workshop put out, and obviously we wholeheartedly endorse.
It hasn't garnered anywhere near as much ire from portions of the community that if you don't like this, then you will not be missed thing. But it's basically saying the same kind of thing. We're not going to tolerate horrific people, and if you want to be in that camp, then GTFO, but put slightly differently.
Yeah, it was. I think it's yes, it was. And I feel like some of the blowback, well, there was very much, but the blowback from the Black Lives Matter announcement was probably, it did feel, because everybody was doing it at the time, and it did feel a bit like kind of every corporation had to do it. But this was a direct response to something that had happened at something that involved their games. It was very directly tied to them.
Yeah.
I feel like, I personally feel like they should have done it a few years ago. They've clearly had a right-wing issue for a number of years, and I think it's good that they're trying to tackle it now.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of people say leave politics out of my hobby. It's like, well, yeah, politics isn't in the hobby. Politics is just in life, and unfortunately, your life is in the hobby. And when a person turns up to a tournament wearing Nazi clothing, that's just a get the fuck out moment. There should be no, we'll just count them as buy games, and whoever plays him can just get the win. No, you tell them at that point, change out of that or get the fuck out.
Yeah, there was some. I read I can't remember there was an article about it anyway, and I think there was the country that it took place in, there was some reason why they couldn't.
Italy or something.
I think it was Spain, but
Spain, sorry.
There was some sort of freedom of expression thing that meant they couldn't just expel somebody just because they didn't like the cut of their jib, which I don't think you get in some countries. I don't know, there isn't a specific. I can't exactly remember it, but I think from reading that article, the tournament organisers' hands were a little bit tied. But yeah, obviously in this country, I think you will kind of always have the right to refuse admission kind of thing, so you could just stick them out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it should have just come down to that. It's like, just get out. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I think it was really a strong message from GW, a really important one. So, well, kudos to them for doing it and tackling what is an issue in the hobby, a sad one. But I mean, obviously, overwhelmingly, 99.9% of the hobby population basically agree with it. So that's a positive thing. Even though there's lots of us. So if you get 0.1% of idiots, that's still a reasonable number of people.
And like Bruce has said, anyone who dresses up as a Nazi or supports them as well, I would say to add to that, clearly has no idea who they really were. And I mean, you've only got to look up a few. It doesn't take much googling to find just harrowing pictures of it. And frankly, anybody who thinks that any of that was a good idea is just a piece of shit human being.
Yeah, there's one comment I saw which had been doing the rounds, I think, but somebody said, "I'm just curious as to why you hate Nazis."
Yeah. Are you perpetually fucking stupid?
I think what really offended me about that statement was I'm just... It's not even like I'm curious, I'm just curious. Almost like, well, I don't really quite get it. It's like...
and then they tried to tie it off with basically your hate for Nazis is no different from the Nazis' hate. Well, it is. Because I don't want to round all of them up and exterminate them. I'm
exactly.
a better human being than
The
that.
the tolerating intolerance
Yeah.
paradox. Go and read your Karl Popper. I think it's Karl Popper. There's the big essay on why you shouldn't tolerate
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't want to dwell on that too much, but I just felt it was a good message, and we wanted to, not that our opinion is really adds much weight to the avalanche of opinion about it, but we just wanted to say, well done, GW, and if you are a Nazi, get stuffed.
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Basically. I don't think we'll lose any of our fan base for saying that. At least I'd hope.
I don't think so, no. We've still got all 15 of you watching, so that's good.
Yes.
So we've got half an hour left, Pete. What are we going to devote to the final half
Anybody
hour?
who's watching still, who is still out there, give us something to talk about, or we're just going to keep rambling about stuff tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a very slow one from GW. I mean, not from GW, because they're always spewing stuff out at 1,000 miles an hour. GW are always throwing things
I've
out.
just noticed on the Warhammer Community page, the cursor is a dragon.
Brilliant.
On the main page, anyway. I'm just having a quick look at the pre-orders.
Mr. Marlowe says, do we think that gloom mechanics make objectives harder or easier?
What game is that?
I don't know. I've never heard of it. I think a little bit, because it stops you being able to just move somebody and score immediately, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the early days of Beastgrave, Grimwatch just kicked everyone's ass by going, I'm going to move and I'm going to score 2 glory, and I'm going to move next turn, I'm going to score another couple of glory, and I'm not going to do anything this turn, and I'll score another couple of glory. And it just was a bit, so I think it does make it a little bit trickier, but I think that just means you have to think about it a bit more, which is a good thing, because a game where you don't have to think to be able to score is just a bit dull. Yeah.
I think it makes cards like that trickier. It might arguably make things like Take the City and Infestation easier, but I think they're one-trick ponies. I think once your opponent knows you've got them, and I think they're hard to score.
So the first move is going to be jump onto an objective in their half and flip it over.
Yeah, and to be honest, anybody who is playing those, anybody who's good who's playing those warbands is going to know that those cards exist and immediately take action to stop them. So
even on the off chance, if you haven't taken it, it's not worth having your opponent suddenly score 5 glory. So it just makes more sense to just do that whilst you're there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dungeon Bowl is overpriced. I don't know anything about Dungeon Bowl. It's not something I'm particularly interested in, but yes, it seems quite
I quite
pricey.
like the idea of you having the different colleges of magic.
Yeah, that's quite cool.
Based on the college of magic, depends on what models you get. I quite like that, but yeah, we got Blood Bowl 3, which it just takes too long to play. I put Blood Bowl in the same category almost as like AOS and 40k. It just takes, and it is very much a I go you go game as well, because it's like I'll have my turn, I'll activate all of my players, and then you go onto your turn and you activate all of your players. So it's very much an I go you go system, and for me that's just again a bit dull.
Laura says the new objective placement rules make objective play harder, and she plays more than us and is better than us. So there you go, Andrew. That's your answer.
That's the objective placement side of it, though, and I agree. I think because
I see. Yes, that's true.
But yes, I agree with that as well. New objective placement does make objective play harder, because you can't just tuck 3 in your backfield.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah. Thank you, Laura. And thank you, Pete, for noticing that distinction, which I didn't. How would you make Harrow a better game or more fun to play? Oh, I don't know.
What was that, sorry?
Andrew asked, how would you make Harrow a better game or more fun to play? I think it is fun to play.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed the games I've played of it. I'm not quite sure to make it more fun. I think, I don't know. I'm very inconsistent on it. I find deck building too stressful, but I find rivals a little bit too limiting. So that is very, very much wanting to have my cake and eat it. The problem with the rivals thing for me is that there are just some objectives normally that are just either very hard or impossible to score, which then kind of means you're just looking to throw it away, which kind of spoils it.
Yeah.
But as soon as you open up the whole card pool to me, then I find it too frustrating. I think I just need to have like a break. Like I said at the beginning of this video, then maybe when there's 3 or 4 warbands out, then I'll come back to it and really enjoy it because I've got a bit more flexibility to play.
For me, Vanguard was like almost the perfect way of playing once you had about 4 warbands out.
Of course, it's died, presumably because we liked it.
Yeah, yeah, we gave it the kiss of death by going, hey, there's this format, it's great.
Yeah.
GW went, not for
fucking
fucking
this format. The other people who make Underworld's content don't know what they're talking about. They obviously knew what was coming down the line. Whereas we basically just tied ourselves to the Vanguard track and got steamrolled by a Rivals trade.
Yeah. I do like the idea of Rivals, but and I do think that possibly playing, because we are doing a Rivals format in our Patreon tournament, and I think there's been some really good games there. There's been some absolute pastings, but similar warbands have faced off, and then there's been, you know, a much closer game. So it can come down to just the dice or the way the cards come out, as always with these things. But I think that the Rivals format is a great way to do it. But like you say, some warbands do just have some very poo cards in there, which doesn't help. I think overall for us, I think it has just been the fact that we've played Underworlds non-stop for about 4 years almost, and you know, you can have too much of a good thing.
I think so. So we will play new warbands as and when they come out, but we're going to mix and match with stuff, which is all good. Variety being the spice of life and all that.
Yep.
Andrew also asked, which warbands would you like to see in Harrow Deep? Still want to see Cities of Sigmar. Would like to see sort of vampire hunter warband. Quite cool. Don't know about you, Pete. Skaven, more Skaven.
I'd like to see some Skaven, seeing as we've gone 4 seasons without, you know, the best part of 4 seasons without another bloody warband. And the other thing I'd like to see is maybe a complete break from the norm. I'd like to see Umbraneth, but other than that, I'd like to see a complete break from their norm. I'd like to see maybe like a some kind of squid based, like the Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean type look, that kind of thing. Almost like your mind flayers. It's just your basic D&D mind flayers, something like that. You know, squid. They're underwater after all. Let's you know. That's
true. Proper kind of Piscian.
Yeah.
Something like that would be quite cool, interesting. It's just different.
Yeah.
I have to, as we said before, we're not that excited by the pirates, sadly.
Not the ones they've done anyway. I'm excited by pirates in general.
Pirates,
but not those ones.
No.
Not that one. Especially since it's just another. Oh look, there's one big guy and a load of chaff.
Matt's here.
Hate those.
He's already been facetious.
Bruce says it's weird why there isn't any new Skaven. A lot of people. I agree. I think it's very bizarre because Skaven is like one of GW's most IPable and recognisable races.
I don't really follow the AOS releases, but there hasn't really been much new Skaven across the board, has there?
The last new Skaven model that came out was that one holding the rocket launcher thing, which admittedly is a baller model, and if you could get it separately I would have bought it because I fucking love it. But yeah, that's been like the only model they've done in ages, apart from the Norhold Eternal.
So I mean, we're definitely due some sort of Skaven incursion overhaul.
Yeah.
Maybe this is controversial. I've completely just thought this up. It's not even controversial. Just thought off the top of my head. Maybe they're waiting for the old world AOS, the old world Warhammer, and then they can release a set of models and say you can play these for both. So Skaven and the old world Warhammer and the old world and AOS, and you can play them both. Maybe they're waiting for that.
Oh, Laura says you can get that Skaven model separately now. Might have to buy that.
Oh, he's off.
I remember that model came out when the contrast paints came out because they got Mengel to paint it using contrast paints.
Okay.
And of course,
I don't think you can get his.
No. And obviously he paints it. He was like, "Oh, I painted this with contrast paints." Like, bollocks. Fuck off, you bastard. It just looked absolutely amazing.
He's quite handy with the paintbrush, isn't he? I've noticed that.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of his thing.
The last big Skaven release was during the end times, so they're overdue. Yeah, definitely. Anyway, I'm sure my theory is completely wrong, but
I would love to see.
It's got to be Skaven stuff.
I would love to see an entire Warhammer Fantasy roleplay edition based purely on Skaven. You play Skaven. The things you fight are all like going to other Skaven places. Well, it doesn't just have to be Skaven. You could obviously be fighting humans or orcs or whatever. But
humans who misunderstand what Skaven are about.
Exactly.
It's the whole flip the law on its head.
Exactly.
Being driven by this stone stuff, and they're just trying to get rid of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
By putting it in balls and throwing it away.
Exactly. But then humans keep getting in the way, and they're like, oh, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
What the hell? Right, let's go and get them, and then we can, nurse them back to health and give them the antidote. Oh God, they're shooting at us! Just an adventure where you're the Skaven. You're not necessarily a good guy, but the good thing about Skaven is they're just cowards and greedy and all out for themselves. So you could just play like a group of Skaven doing that.
I assumed that the Soulbound RPG you might be able to do that because they're slowly working through.
Yes, because they did the one where you could be undead.
They've got Champions of Death where you can play the undead, and they're doing Champions of Destruction, and I assume after that they'll be Champions of Chaos.
The trouble is it'll all be Chaos Warriors and stuff. They'll be like, oh, well, you could be this Skaven who's going to be rubbish.
They've been quite good at balancing the different things. So it's not all Stormcast or you can play Fire Slayer or Rise of Death or something. So you don't need any luck in a raffle. I mean, and as people, lots of people have said, they're brilliant, and people would love to see it. I think it might be quite tricky to create a whole world based around the Skaven if you had to do that yourself. But
I don't know.
It might be possible.
I reckon I could come up with a pretty good thing. I mean, their entire life would be a dungeon crawler type thing because of where they live and the tunnels and things. But
presumably there'd be some sort of adventure where they had to get off a sinking ship.
Yeah, that kind of thing, and that you could have one of your party could be an assassin, somebody else could be like a warlock, another one could be like a scryer, mad weaponsmith type design, another could be a fighter and a plague priest. I mean,
Skaven and Aeronautica, love it. Laura says she's playing an Ossiarch Bone Reaper in Soulbound now.
Cool.
Wow, how does that work then, Laura? Can you précis that quickly? I hope you don't method act. We'll have to go on a very strict diet. Dave Henderson's here. Hi, David.
Bruce says that he'd like to see 40k Skaven that exactly mirror mankind. They have living dead empire. That would be pretty cool. That would
Skaven.
They are. I mean, I think Skaven are possibly my most favourite race still in all of GW land.
Don't Mantic have a space rat?
They have some kind of space rat thing, but they look shit. Sorry, the models look crap.
Jason, does each party member be from a different clan have their own secret agendas that undermine the other player's objectives?
Exactly. Just when you think you're about to get to the point where you're going to kill the big bad guy who happens to be like an Elector Count or something, one of the party fucks it up for everybody else because he's the one who wants to keep that Elector Count alive because he's actually a pawn put in place by their council. There's so many different things you could do.
That sounds similar to how you used to play.
Exactly.
But
mine was due to ineptitude.
The Bone Reapers work a little bit like Stormcast. They can't be soulbound, but they get really good stats. It mainly goes around casting really horrible death measure good people. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I just think that kind of thing would work.
John says Jason just reinvented the Paranoia RPG, but I suppose that is very ratty, isn't it?
It's true.
But yeah, talking of ratty, that's what would happen if I had to play a Skaven. I'd end up playing the rat from Wind in the Willows. Because I can never play mean, duplicitous people. I always revert to type. I'm lovely.
He stabbed my character to death in the last roleplay we did. For no reason. He said he didn't like the way I looked at him.
I think I did.
GW could just license the Resistance card game and change it to Skaven players just screwing each other over. Anything where you have to fuck over other people in the game and screw them up, you can put Skaven in there and it would just work. It just works. But I'd love everything about Skaven.
Maybe we'll get a whole range of cuddly Skaven. They've done cuddly Nurglings or whatever.
That would be brilliant. Yeah,
cuddly Skavens. And they could be like Build-A-Boar Bear Workshop Skaven, and you could actually like put in different. This is a Clan Sky Skaven or whatever with different features.
Bruce says, "Oh, Wind in the Willows skirmish game." They kind of did that with
Barrows and Badgers. Or Badgers and Barrows. Yeah, I actually dug out the rulebook for that the other day and found my miniatures. I'm thinking, maybe I should paint these out. I was like, no, there's no point.
Maybe no.
but yeah, yeah, that's cool. I'd love to have the time to play that.
I'm not very slowly saying no to you. I'm just trying to do my neck exercises because my neck these days is
I
fucked.
thought maybe there was like a quite slow fly, just going backwards and forwards. It's not at all off-putting, is it?
Sorry.
It's not very professional, Pete.
Well, it's that my fault. My neck is fucked.
I think it might be, unless you. Anyway, we can all do them together. Everybody,
Yeah, everyone.
sign of old age. We spent a lot of the last couple of days doing this because my shoulders. Well, I don't know how weird I look when I do that. My head sort of suddenly goes really big.
They're we're idiots.
We've still got 19 people watching this. Someone set Pete to oscillate. Yes, anyway, Bruce, yeah, check out it's from Osprey, Burrows and Badgers. There's a range of miniatures. I can't remember who makes the miniatures. It might be North Star, but I can't remember. North Star did some of the other miniatures for their other Osprey stuff. But yeah, there's a whole range of miniatures, and I don't think it is North Star, actually. I think it's somebody else. Yeah, the miniatures are cool.
I can't remember who said about doing a 40k Skaven version. I remember somebody did a Cawdor gang using Skaven models and a Cawdor gang, and that looked absolutely amazing as well. I loved that.
Do they have bomb people? That would be quite cool.
Just a bloke running along with some bombs.
Yeah. Oathsworn. Yes, it is Oathsworn. Well done, Jess. Yeah.
It was just, yeah, I just love everything about the Skaven. Just the way they've done them and the fact that they're all just self-serving, backstabbing. Yeah, they just remind me of British politicians, really. Except I quite like Skaven. I don't like British politicians.
How interesting. Is that because Skaven aren't real?
Yes.
British politicians are.
Sadly so.
All the Skaven. I wonder who wrote the original Skaven lore.
Which kind of makes me think of the whole thing that, you know, in Warhammer, there's the whole thing about the Ratmen aren't, you know, the Empire, they tell everybody, oh, the Ratmen aren't real, but they're like a story that the mothers tell their kids to scare them at night and things. It's a bit like that with British politicians as well. If you don't go to bed, Gove will come for you. I don't know who wrote the original lore for Skaven. Obviously, it was a collaborative thing.
I wonder if it was written for, like a lot of it was written for fantasy roleplay rather than.
Probably was to start with. They were just Chaos Ratmen or something.
Yeah,
and then they evolved.
Graham Davis wrote a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
He's knocking around in the Rookery Productions or something now with the guy who wrote the 4th edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Andrew something, I think. They've got their own little production company with a couple of artists. I can't remember what the artist's name, but it's quite a famous GW artist doing some stuff. Yeah, so old role players never die.
Yeah.
They just keep going. It's like we were talking about something on the Patreon Discord the other day, and I think it was on there. And Rick Priestley and Jervis Johnson have designed it. Oh, it was the new. I think it's the new Warlord Studios epic Napoleonic stuff.
All right.
It's written by Rick Priestley and Jervis Johnson.
Somebody mentioned actually in the chat earlier, someone asked us the question if we play historic games at all.
Oh, yes.
No. And no, we don't. I think that's just
I have always loved the idea of it and never done it. Because part of the reason I like the Empire was because of the historic aspects of it. And my dad was quite into that. So he kind of pushed me down the road, buy some pikemen, buy some people with halberds, that kind of stuff. So I did. But I never
brought the Napoleon Wars out and shot you to pieces. While screaming, "Loser! You lose!"
And he taught me what an arquebus was and things like that. And I did that kind of. I did a lot of war games do. I bought the rules for the ancient battles and the sort of medieval battle stuff, but never actually got them to the table.
Because Warhammer did, Games Workshop didn't they? They did a Warhammer Ancient Battles, or whatever it was called, which was like a historic version of a set of rules and things. But I've always liked the idea of those things, but I've never liked them enough to want to buy them over like Necrons or Skaven or whatever. I think I prefer the fantasy element a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Bruce likes the Burrows and Badger minis. Yeah, they're really cool, aren't they? I really like them. Andrew's talking about Black Library books. So I can do that.
I think for me as well, the other reason why I'm not as interested in historical stuff is it's kind of already based off of something that's happened. So there's already some kind of, and I know for a lot of people that's part of the attraction is to recreate armies from history and stuff like that. But for me, it's like, well, I want to create my own thing. I want to do my own thing with it. So I don't want to have to, you know, I couldn't buy a load of Napoleonic models and paint them all cerise pink or whatever. It wouldn't work. I'd have to try and...
No, I think part of the attraction for that is painting them accurately.
Yeah, yeah.
I suppose in the same way as people like to, I know it's still made up, but I imagine the percentage of people who paint their Space Marines not chapter colours is pretty small compared with the pictures you do, and it's kind of the same thing. My dad was huge into his Napoleonic stuff, so I kind of, you know, he obviously clearly enjoyed doing that. I'm not sure exactly why that more than fantasy. I guess fantasy would maybe around less.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean though. You can't just go off on one when painting historical figures. I suppose you could. The older it gets, the easier that is to do, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because you can do that. Yeah, Jason says he loves history, especially ancient, but he doesn't wargame there. First, the option to have wizards and dragons. Yeah, wizards and dragons are inherently cooler than not having wizards and dragons.
Yeah.
I suppose.
I think, yeah, I think for me, being able to have something a bit more fantastical and a little less real is just slightly more attractive because it's just a bit more of a break from reality.
Fantasy Napoleonics from Flintlock. I'm actually hoping to get for Christmas a game by an Osprey game, which is a kind of fantasy Napoleonic game. So it's only a book, but if I get that, then maybe I'll get some Flintlock minis to play with it.
For me as well, a lot of that kind of stuff is kind of, because it's historic, it's like, well, you can buy a load of Napoleonic figures, but you kind of know who wins at the end.
But I think there are some people who like the fact that you are recreating that, and you can change history. I think that's part of the deal there. But it's interesting. If you go too far back in history, I'm not interested, and if you go too forward in history, I'm not interested. There's a definite period that I wouldn't, I would rather play. So anything after the Napoleonic Wars, I wouldn't be interested. I think I'm only interested in the Napoleonic Wars because the collection with my dad. But I'd love to play kind of 100 Years War, 30 Years War stuff, medieval stuff.
But that's much closer to like Empire, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's because that's what the Empire are based on, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the Bretonians.
Yeah.
And that interests me. And the Romans, to a lesser extent, but still does quite interest me. But I know that Stephen, not Jeff, he's got the Civil War warlord, but that doesn't really interest me either, the American Civil War stuff. But what really doesn't interest me is World War II and World War One, except playing with planes. That kind of is quite cool. I'm not sure what that's about.
I quite like the World War II. I mean, I started way back when. I think some of my first stuff, I got into GW a bit, but then I also bought some of the World War II stuff, like a tank and some soldiers and stuff like that,
right.
and I quite like those. But yeah,
I got very excited the other day, even though I gave away my starter set already. They're doing a new starter set. I think that's Warlord as well for the Blood Red Skies game.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Don't know. I mean, you've already not played. You had the other one, didn't ever play it, so you got rid of it. Don't buy another one.
Gaz is there. Hello, Wolfman Gaz.
Oh, hi Gaz.
For a last minute hello. Yeah. I do find it.
Space Marines from Bruce as well. Yeah, that's cool.
I do find it strange that whilst being a wargamer still has some inherent schisms involved with it in a societal sense, where you're going to get some weird looks. You're going to bump into a lot of closeted Warhammer players as well, who, when you mention it, they're going to go, oh yeah, I either still do that or used to do that or don't have the time for that anymore, whatever. But if you say you're into like historical stuff, that seems to be another different level down of, oh, he does Napoleonic stuff. It's like, why is that now less suitable than make, rat people and dragons?
Is that the long rumoured Midway starter? Yes, I think it was Midway because it had the Japanese. He says, hoping that's right, because my World War II history is not very good. Yeah, I think it was the Midway. I think it was the Midway starter. I don't know where I saw that. It was an email probably.
I do remember seeing someone had done a diorama for, I think it was World War II, and it was like I can't remember the name of the Russian city that the Nazis spent far too long trying to absolutely destroy, but never quite got.
Stalingrad.
Stalingrad, that's it.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Or Leningrad. They laid siege to Leningrad for a long time, but Stalingrad.
I think it was Stalingrad, and they'd done a diorama of there was like this one building in Stalingrad where the Russians were holed up, and the Germans they just never could get into it, and there was a very small force of Russians that stayed there and just kept them away for absolutely ages, and they'd recreated that using some photos that they'd found from the time, and it was just this massive like 4-foot board diorama, and it was all ruined buildings and rubble and these soldiers on it. It just looked absolutely amazing. It was just fantastic. So I love that kind of stuff.
Going off at a tangent, unlike me, I know. It is related. They're on the Marble Crisis Protocol Facebook forum today. There was a guy who built for a client a New York street, but this guy who built it he built architects models for a living. So this board for Marble Crisis Protocol looked like New York. Well, not obviously like the whole of New York, but just looked like a New York street in miniature. It was absolutely amazing. God knows how much it would cost to commission a professional to build you a board like that. And it was the right scale. It was 1/48 scale, and it had a little bus stop with all the little posters and maps and things on it. It was just absolutely amazing. Leningrad and Stalingrad are the same place.
Oh yeah, because I think it was Leningrad to start with, and it got renamed to Stalingrad or something.
Okay.
Something like that.
St. Petersburg, Leningrad.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I can't remember now. Anyway, whichever one it was. I love the idea of those kind of boards, but at the same time, it's like
Stalingrad was Volgograd.
Oh right.
Yeah.
I love the idea of those boards, but at the same time, so you get this thing brilliant, but then storing it's a pain in the arse, and also once you've played on it a few times, it's then a bit, samey.
Yeah, I suppose so. But this was immense. But yes, I could see that. Petrograd. Grad was Petrograd and St. Petersburg.
Well, I mean, technically they're all in Russia, so they're all in the same place.
They were all in Russia, yes. That was correct, Peter. Thank you.
Just figured I'd save that one there. But yeah, I love reading about all that kind of stuff and all the siege wars and stuff, and it's one of the things you like. I love reading about it. It was obviously absolutely fucking horrific.
Stalingrad was sitting down. Agnet used for the Varenhai book in the Ghost series. Interesting. I did not know that because I hadn't read it, but that's quite interesting. I mean, that's the GW have always borrowed.
Oh yeah.
History, masses and masses of stuff, which is interesting. And I think that's partly just tie back into what we were talking about earlier. I think that's a little bit why they have an issue with some far right supporters in the fringes, because I think they did borrow heavily in a time when borrowing heavily from culture was more acceptable than it is now, and I think that there was it's a bit of a legacy of that.
Yeah.
But obviously, borrowing things like Stalingrad or whatever was fine, but they kind of obviously it is a satire of certain things.
Yeah.
But they did heavily as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's that kind of thing of, creating this dystopian fascist future where humans are only alive because of how horrific they've now become to survive, and saying that's an interesting setting is very different to saying I think Nazis are pretty cool.
Yes.
There's a big gap. I can't adequately display on the screen how big that gap is, but it's fucking huge. And yeah, I think there is. Yes, there is. But there is inherently a lot of sort of fascisty kind of iconography in the whole Space Marine Imperial Guard kind of setup.
Yeah.
Which is ironic, really, because they have commissars as well, which is very Russian, and which were very not fascist at all. But
kind of met round the back, didn't they?
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, whilst you've got that there, obviously, one thing being a game and a made-up world.
Laura's off to bed. Thanks for joining us, Laura. It's always nice to have you.
Thanks for coming along and always reminding us that AOS isn't actually a bad game. We're just miserable and just crap at large-scale games.
Yeah.
I definitely remember a game I played years ago. We played like a 20,000 point 40k game Me and 7 mates, we all managed to get together over a weekend. My brother-in-law's factory, well, it's not his factory, but the factory he worked at, we put a load of the tables together in the canteen and we set it all up. It took us most of a day to set it all up and play like a turn, and then the next day we came back on the Sunday and played like another turn, and by the time we were done with that we had to pack up again because it just took so long. But it was just absolutely great fun to do, and I wish I could do something like that again. I think
you spent most of the day just eating your own body weight in crisps and sweets.
Yeah, definitely did that. Sausage butties and stuff like that, because the canteen was there and things. But yeah, I absolutely love doing that, but at the same time, and it's kind of silly really, because you do that and you get you and there's 4 of you and 4 of the other people on the other side, and you basically end up playing like 4 one-on-one games because the board is so huge anyway. So you might as well just play 4 separate games, because it would have taken like a fifth of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's pretty much that. I think we're probably it's nearly 11 o'clock. It's time to say goodnight.
Yeah,
I think
we've written on for another hour and a half of your lives. Thank you for devoting that to us. Always lovely, and we will, I guess, meet again maybe next week.
We'll meet again.
I guess we're going to be in a bit of a quiet period now, because GW probably haven't got any other surprises up their sleeve pre-Christmas.
I guess next week we might be talking a bit more about the game we're playing this week. Can't remember what it is now.
Yes, we can have a Mantic week next week, especially if it's only arrived, because there's no embargo or anything there, because it's all out. So I can bring that along. If we're lucky, Peter will have arrived by Thursday. You can have a look at it.
Ooh, cool.
But yeah, they're definitely going Overdrive, so we could maybe do a little comparison between Overdrive and Blitz Bowl. And I can't remember what Blood Bowl's like, but yeah, we'll see. Jason's up for some manticness, a romantic Tuesday evening.
Yes, I think if anybody watching this has any ideas or suggestions for topics that we could discuss, or if anybody watching it in the chat wants to post anything up, do let us know. Shout us out on Facebook, and if you were painting this evening while you listen, do post them on our Facebook page. We'd love to see what you've got up to. Mr. Marlowe's still frantically painting away all of his Imperial Guard this evening.
A quick random amusing story for you before we go. Tonight, my son had cubs, and they were doing stuff with eggs, so they were learning how to poach eggs, fry eggs, scramble eggs, and they had a little competition to make egg puns. And apparently, my son smashed it out of the park and vanquished everybody in front of him. Just like, just chip off the old block.
Good.
Just like, pun away.
Pun, son. Go pun. Go forth and pun. Right, so thank you everybody for joining us this evening, giving us your time and listening to us witter on endlessly.
Yes.
And
thank you very much. Of course, on hearing this news, I had to tell him, you must have been hard to beat.
That sounds excellent, son.
And then he looked at me like, Dad, really?
do we have to? You don't have to do this now. Oh, but I do. Right, well, thank you everybody, and we shall say good night. He did have the best yolks, John Sanders. Well done.
Yeah.
Stay safe all. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, cheers everyone.